Hey guys, it has been a roller coaster since bringing up this idea of this impossible Easter egg on Black Ops 3. This got brought back up because Jason had said that in 8 years he would tell us what this impossible Easter egg is that he announced well before the release of Black Ops 3. And it is year 2023. It is 8 years post-release. It's not exactly 8 years past Shadow's release. That will be in November of this year. But I thought I would start addressing it, making videos about it, and ever since then, yeah, people have been on the hunt. People are getting excited about this again, and we've been digging into some stuff. I've got a couple of hot leads, and in this video I'm going to talk about the top lead and then also talk about how it may be completely debunked. We can't tell if this is intentional and supposed to be something. If so, it's brilliant. If not, it's a complete mistake and some error within their textures and files. My friends that are professional mappers and really good with ciphers and stuff like this believe that this is 95% not something. They think this is an error within their system. So just like we enjoy doing, we went in and absolutely ripped it apart from top to bottom to see what was going on. So this has been talked about since the release of Black Ops 3. This is on the Giant, and if you come to the clock in the lab, you can see some crazy looking dots surrounding the numbers. They are extremely hard to see, even with a sniper and even in theater mode. And in fact, you cannot make out the top numbers. The 11, the 2, the 1, you have no idea what's going on with those. You can just see hints of dots happening. And the Cipher community worked on this years ago, but it was really difficult to see the dots and get any kind of clarity on it, so they kind of gave up on it, and nothing's been solved on this. And shout out to Absolem. He brought this up like a year ago in a video, and Lex covered it recently, so we wanted to go in and see what's going on. Where are these clocks? Is it only on the Giant? And then get into the files and break down and find out what these dots are. So we found out that this clock is on majority of the maps. It's not on Revelations though, but you can find one in Shadows of Evil in the boxing gym. And what's interesting about this clock and these dots is that to be able to view some of the dots, you have to be at an angle where light is hitting it and reflecting off the dots. If you look straight at the clock, they're really hard to see. It's like you have to be at an angle with a sniper on the ground looking up. It's almost like it's intentional that you need to be able to view it that way because it's the only way you can see it. But here on Shadows, it's still really tough. You're not making out all of these dots. You can just tell that there's something going on, but getting a clear sequence is not going to be happening. So I went around and checked out the other maps, and what I noticed is that if I used all the clocks from all of the maps and took as much information as I could from each of them, then I could compile the entire clock and see all of the dots and their sequences. The most interesting one was on Verizon. If you go into Maxis's room, and on the ground there is the clock. This is the only clock from what I know on Verizon. If you go prone in the corner and squeeze up against this furniture and then sniper scope in, you can see the 1 and 2, and you can see the pattern really, really clearly. And I was thinking, yeah, on the Giant, you can see a lot of the numbers at the bottom, but I couldn't see the top numbers, like the 1 or 2 is not clear at all. But if you come to Verizon, yeah, you can get that sequence from this map and this clock. And hearing things in the community, like Lex was saying in a video that Jason told some of the YouTubers that they would not be able to solve something until Revelations was released. This could fall in line with that. Like, we need all the clocks to be able to put the puzzle together and see all the dots. Also, this could be a candidate for the impossible Easter egg. People are speculating that this is a cipher, and that's something that Jason alluded to in the video where he talked about this impossible Easter egg that he was going to be putting in. He said that he had put in ciphers in the past, people were solving them, so he's going to put one in that we cannot break. And so we're all thinking, yeah, that's going to be a cipher. Also, this one seems nearly impossible, having to compile all of the clocks and like try to get these sequences, and you can barely see anything. It's madness. Also, you're not going to see this in the game files as any kind of engineered cipher or Easter egg step, so that kind of qualifies as well. On top of that, it was really difficult to actually see the graphics of this clock. You can see the basic graphics, but you can't see the dots on the clock. You have to have like mod tools or some knowledge to know how to go in and pull apart the model and see everything that's in there to see them. Basically, you have to work at Treyarch or be a veteran map maker to know how to even look at this thing. So at this point, using the Giant and Verizon, I'm able to compile about 60% of the clock and see the dot sequence, but I'm still missing the top left half of this clock. And big shout out to my Easter egg group on Discord, Eagle-Eyed MMJ. He's been going around the maps and taking all these screenshots, getting really good visuals on these dots, and he found a couple of really useful clocks on Zetsubo Shima, and that filled in the rest of the puzzle pieces and allowed us to get the complete picture of this clock, the numbers, and the dots. There's one clock in the upstairs building past Jug, and this one's interesting because the color of the dots is inverted. What used to be white is now black, and what was black is now white. And all of the clocks have the exact same dot sequence and pattern, except for, this clock here, the color is just inverted. These inverted dots allowed us to see some of the sequences that we couldn't see on the other clocks because they were too tricky, and like the black dots were running into the black numbers and stuff. Well, with this being reversed, there's now white dots running into the black numbers, and so now you can see them. But again, you have to get a really good angle on them, and I even had to use mods with a sniper and just cram myself up against the clock and get an extreme angle to get a light reflection to get enough of a view to see them. So at this point, I felt like, we've got all the dots, all the sequence, but there's some numbers that there weren't any dots, and I'm not 100% that there's missing dots there. I might just be not seeing them clear enough. But then when you go to the underground area on Zetsubo in the bunker, there's a clock in the back that has a light shining on it perfectly that allows you to see which numbers have the dots. And this confirmed that there were 3 numbers that do not have dots at all, and that's what we needed clarity on. So the 3, the 9, and the 12 do not have any dots whatsoever, and this light reflection definitely makes that clear. So it took multiple clocks to compile it all together. We got the 1, the 2, the 3 only has 1 dot, there's a 4, 5, no 6, 7, 8, nothing on 9, and then there's a 10 and an 11. I was able to Photoshop the actual graphics, the numbers and the dots, onto a clock so we could get a good idea of what the layout looks like. And people in the past had speculated that this could be Braille, and they might have even solved maybe a few words. And recently, shout out to WaterKH, his theory was that this is Braille as well, and the white and black dots could help to differentiate the rows so that we can keep track of the spacing and sequence. And for the most part, you can make these dots line up pretty well with all the letters and even words from Braille, but nothing's been coherent or figured out or solved at this point. So that's when I reached out to Zeroy. Massive shout out to him. He's one of the head mappers in the community and knows very well how to work the Black Ops 3 mod tools and knows all about how to get in and look at every single layer within the model of this clock. At first, when I sent it to him, he was excited. He was like, this looks like a cipher. This is awesome. I was like, can you get in there and find the file that shows the dot patterns, because I want to confirm it with what we just went through, going through all the maps and compiling the dots. The further he dug into these graphics and got into them, the more and more he became discouraged that this does not look like a cipher and it's not intentional. And I was like, what? And I'm still in disbelief because everything lines up for this thing looking like it's a cipher. You need a sniper. That's pretty common with ciphers. It needs light reflection, which is a new kind of thing. That seems interesting. And then it looks like Braille. And then the overall design itself looks very intentional. One thing I forgot to mention that might make it suspicious is that it was kind of spotlighted in the intro giant cutscene. And for some of us that don't know the technical side of this stuff, it lines up. It looks good. It seems like a cipher. But let me try to explain what he said. I still don't fully understand it, but I trust him. And if he says it's a no-go, then I'm on his side with this. So he sent me this GIF and he said, okay, it's not looking good for a cipher. This starts on the color texture map of the clock. Then I switch to the normal map, and you see the artifacts from color map are almost in the same position as the dots on the normal map. This to me would indicate that those dots are in fact a result of poor normal map creation by an artist at Treyarch. He said he went in and tested this, and he was trying to produce the same normal map, and he did not get the same results. He went on to say that I know in-game the dots look so perfect, and that's because they are a full pixel each. He said, I went from being convinced of a cipher to now being more on the side of it being an artifact. And artifact in the mapping terms means that it's a defect or stubborn pixels that just wouldn't go away. He also said that when they created the normal map, which is one of the layers of the graphics, that those pixels got created too, but they were not cleaned up and they're really hard to see, so he imagines that they got missed. And here's an image of that normal map that he sent me. me, it does show all of those dots, which are represented as pixels very clearly. He said that when they went in to do the converting and creating of the normal map, some of the pixels created this pattern. And again, I don't fully understand it, but he's basically saying it should not look like this at all. It should all be one color. He could not even recreate it, and he feels like it is 95% an error and it is not a cipher. That could explain why it never got solved, but now that we have the really clear image of the dots, the top cipher solvers in the community are going to continue to work on it, and if anyone can do it, they can. And so I will keep you guys updated if they figure anything out. So as it stands right now, from the professional's point of view, this is debunked until we can get further information. But yeah, this was our top lead until we got this information today from Zeroy, but I do have another lead that will now be the top lead that I feel like it could be something. It's certainly interesting, and it has a very interesting backstory, so I can't wait to show you that. And I'll keep you guys updated on all the top leads. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and we'll see you next video.